All right. An insane spectacle outside the California State House. Let's check it out. And we'll go to Rob Schmitt tonight. A reminder this week of how terrifying government can be when unchecked, coming from California, and a bill created by the Attorney General's wife, which has been dubbed the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Its purpose to criminalize the act of looking for fraud within government immigration services. Yes, that's the purpose of the bill, prohibiting all the different methods that journalists have been using to expose how our tax dollars are stolen. They don't want you doing that in California. Democrats in California criminalizing any effort to expose fraud in the manner that we saw in Minnesota when independent journalist Nick Shirley became a star, helping to expose billions stolen by Somali fraudsters just in the state of Minnesota who came here claiming to be refugees.
These groups are setting up these daycares, these child care centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids. So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center. They've received over $1.9 million this year alone, and they're supposed to have 99 children here.
I don't see it.
Within just a few hours, we nearly approached $20 million in fraud. And for this building, I'm going to give an estimate of around $30 million for how much fraud is taking place.
Where are the children at inside of these buildings? Millions of dollars are being sent into these daycare centers all across Minnesota.
So just wanted to refresh you on what we're talking about here. Some of the best reporting we've ever seen in this country, or at least in years for that matter. Look at the headlines. Billions of dollars were stolen, arrests were made. Nobody ever denied that any of this happened, by the way. It's all been confirmed through arrests, investigations. The governor of the state of Minnesota literally ended his own political career over this story. And the response from California and the California Communist Party is criminalize this so it can't happen in our own state. So it can't happen to our own governor. The bill was drafted by Mia Bonta, the wife of the state's attorney general. Think about how twisted that is. Rob Bonta is the man responsible for finding and prosecuting this kind of fraud. But as we've seen too often, he's actually there to do just the opposite. And his wife is now ensuring that nobody can find out just how much fraud her husband has been permitting as their political party lures and bribes refugees and illegal immigrants with your money. As the bill was passed in the state Senate, this is the moment that we're talking about. Nick Shirley showed up outside of the state house and was confronted by a man named Terry Shands. This is the California Assembly Chief of Staff, Terry Shands. Just watch this and realize that these are the people that are controlling the state of California. Take a look.
Did you guys hear that Nick Shirley has a small penis, allegedly?
Wow, that's so adult of you.
Did you hear about this? Nick Shirley allegedly has a small penis. Well, I don't know. This is what they're reporting. Prove me wrong.
No, I'm not. I don't do that.
Prove me wrong. It was good enough for Charlie Kirk. Prove me wrong.
You don't want to do that.
Well, if you consent.
I mean, we are in California. They do support pedophiles.
Have you guys heard these public reports? Nick Shirley allegedly has a small penis. There's an investigation going on. If you like, there you go. Thank you so much.
Show people how many you made. How many copies you made?
Citizen journalist doing citizen journalism.
We have a camera here, pal.
No, I'm a citizen journalist. There's cameras everywhere. Have you been to America?
Have you ever seen anything like that? Can you believe that that man has a job in California's government, a big job, hopefully not for long? That's a fully grown man, clearly a pervert. You imagine the kind of sexual atrocities that probably exist on his computer. CC the DOJ. City Journal estimates $180 billion has been stolen from California taxpayers just in the time that Gavin Newsom has been the governor. $180 billion, just under one governor. And that's the reaction when you try to investigate where the money's going. By the way, that number is more than half the GDP of New Zealand. That's how much is stolen under one governor, according to estimates. And when you try to look into it, you get a pervert running around outside saying that to a kid that's trying to investigate and find out where our money is going. That's how disgusting California is. And more importantly, the people that are running California. Under Gavin Newsom and Democrat control, the budget for the state of California has doubled in 10 years. Doubled in 10 freaking years to $350 billion. But don't ask why or how that's even possible, because they'll probably send you to a gulag. This is what a failing communist state looks like: a fully corrupted political party, a supermajority, and full, unquestionable control of the state. Abel Maldonado is a former lieutenant governor of the state of California. Carl Demaio is a Republican California State Assembly member that's joining us tonight. And good to have you both here, guys. Abel, I'll start with you. Let's start with the Assembly Chief of Staff, Terry Shands, and one of the most despicable things I have ever seen a grown man do.
Rob, this guy's making north of 200 grand. He's the chief of staff to the California Assembly, Rob. Chief of staff to the California Assembly, the majority party. Fire this dude. He's the one that's been in cahoots with everything that's gone on. You see, what the Democrat Party does, Rob, they legalize things. Crime, legalize it. $1,000, no ramification. Immigration, legalize it. Give them everything they want for free. Voter fraud, legalize it. You can't ask for an ID to vote in California. I can go on and on and on. And now fraud. A citizen guy with a hoodie looking for fraud in California, and he comes up with this nasty document flyer because they can't do it because they've destroyed the state of California. Bottom line, Rob.
It's so unbelievable. The story, I couldn't believe it when I watched that video last night. And you realize these are the idiots that are running the state of California. I mean, that, as you said, that's a big job, and that's his behavior. He belongs nowhere near government, and I can't fathom what's in his personal life if you behave that way. Carl, they're outlawing investigation into the fraud that they've so clearly enabled. That's tyranny.
That's right. California faces a massive cost of living crisis. Working families are getting crushed. And every moment they're getting higher taxes, higher fees from politicians. Where does that money go? To wasteful spending. We are not going to reduce California's cost of living unless we crack down on rampant government fraud at the state and local level. That's why we should be thanking people like Nick Shirley and other citizen journalists for shining a light on the waste, fraud, and abuse. Certainly politicians aren't kicking the tires. And what we're seeing, though, is that when you follow the money, Rob, the money goes to politically connected groups and developers that give campaign contributions to politicians, that turn out the vote for the politicians. And that is why this is money laundering. There's no other way to describe it besides a racket that the Democrat supermajority has created. They don't want to stop the fraud because they benefit from the money flow. Yeah. And so when this bill was introduced, Rob, I nicknamed it the Nick Shirley Act, the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Right. And for that, when I took to the floor and opposed it yesterday, they shut off my microphone. The very party that says they're for free speech and that this is not going to infringe upon First Amendment rights, what do they do to a duly elected state assembly member? They shut off my microphone. They take away my free speech rights. I have an obligation to speak against bills on behalf of my constituents, and they basically abuse their power. The same way they're silencing Nick Shirley, they're silencing duly elected representatives now.
Yeah, they're communists. Your state is run by communists. I don't know how so many people have managed to stay in that state, how you guys have managed to stay there as people flood out. Just it's so sad to see a state I used to live in, and I love California. It's so sad to see what's happening to it, and who's running it is just an abomination. Abel, I want to stay in your state for a second. I want to talk about Eric Swalwell, who is in pretty deep now as well. FBI agents seizing his devices at SFO on Saturday, searching his Washington home as part of an investigation into rape and sexual misconduct allegations. This guy was poised to be the next governor of your state. What a tremendous fall here.
Everybody was supporting him in the Democratic Party, Rob. Everybody. This was the golden boy, the golden child from the northern part of the state. And here we are. Look who he is. But we knew. I mean, this guy thought he was above the law. Him and Gallegos from Arizona, they're buddies. Same thing. Different state, same kind of guy. So I'm glad, and I hope that Kash Patel, our FBI director, goes all the way home on this guy, because this guy portrayed to be a Californian who loved California. Absolutely not, Rob. This guy's just part of the same Democrat that Carl Demaio is dealing with every single day up in Sacramento.
And Carl, just the final word to you. I mean, the fact that everybody knows what Eric Swalwell is. The fact that he was the golden boy and was set to run the state. How broken is the system in California?
Well, there's a pattern of behavior here, Rob, because with Katie Porter, they supported her for election, and she viciously attacked her staff. And the Democrats knew that, and they had video of it, but they kept it a secret as long as she was useful to them and as long as she was running against a Republican. The same thing with Eric Swalwell. They were worried about the top two system in California shutting out the Democrats. And so they said, look, we got to get rid of one of these guys. Who do we have dirt on? Eric Swalwell. Let's take out the trash.
Yeah.
The Democrat Party, they are brutal. They are only about clinging to power. That's why they will protect the bad actors, even people who engage in sexual misconduct, as Eric Swalwell is alleged to have engaged in. They will protect these people as long as it serves their power.
Carl Demaio, Abel Maldonado, thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on here. The national debt crossing a staggering new threshold this week. It's a story that I like to keep you apprised of. $40 trillion. Look at that. 40 trillion. Already 53 more billion added on just in a day. The interest on our debt is over $1 trillion. Just to carry this debt costs us more than $1 trillion a year. The government only brings in about $5 trillion. So a fifth of that is going just to carry the debt. And it's now the biggest line item that we have, by the way. It's more than defense, more than Medicare, more than everything else, just to carry it. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, on CNBC earlier, trying to ease nerves.
The 40 trillion is a big number. It is smaller when we looked at the publicly traded amount because our Social Security funds and other government entities hold a substantial amount. And what we're going to do, we're going to have to grow our way out of this. I am confident that we will be back to the same level, if not higher, of tariff income for last year. And that is most of the increase in the deficit. We were left with a mess. The Biden administration had the highest deficit to GDP in history when we weren't at war or weren't in a recession. For 2025, we brought it down by more than 1%.
All right. So Peter Navarro is joining us now. He works in the White House. He's Trump's senior counselor for trade and manufacturing. Peter, nobody wants to talk about this. I know it's not one side's fault or the other. I know everybody contributes to this disaster. But I just don't think there's any intention to pump the brakes on this kind of spending in Washington. I think the swamp has gotten a taste of what it's like to spend $7 trillion a year, and I don't think it's going to end. Am I wrong?
Well, you're wrong about who done it. If this were a mystery, you go back to Obama, and he did increase it. He doubled the debt in his 8 years, Rob. I think it went from 10 to 20. The big splurge was in the Biden years where they had those three massive fiscal overspends that a few Republicans kind of enabled. And we inherited that. It's a crushing debt. I think that our strategy, Scott Bessent, he's got his hands full, no question, at Treasury. But the way you do this is you grow your way out of this. The bigger the GDP, if the GDP can grow faster than the debt, in real terms, you can get it down, and that's our goal. We're trying to get to 3% growth, and if you and I, every week or so, we follow the data, and we are growing appreciably faster than Biden did in a way which is bringing the core inflation down, so that's a good thing. My big concern has always been
we're spending $7 trillion and we're bringing in $5. I mean, we're around the edges. We're doing better. I can see that, but I mean, how on earth are we going to fill that gap? Growth filling that gap seems unlikely.
Well, we. You know how
I know
Congress
it's a hard
is.
thing to talk
we
about.
want to cut spending, and they don't want to. They want to do it, and you get the debt limit always going up. All I can tell you, Rob, is that we're painfully aware of the situation. Nobody understands better that if you're paying interest on the debt with taxpayer money rather than paying for Social Security and services in this, that's not a good thing. But what we are focusing on with the four horsemen of prosperity, it's the deregulations, the tax cuts, strategic energy dominance, and of course the tariffs that come with the fair trade. we're focusing on growth, investment, productivity, getting our manufacturing base going. And if we can grow our way out, that's going to be the best case scenario. But at some point, I mean, all of these expenditure programs that Biden built into our economy, it's very, very difficult.
We have to,
to unwind, and that's what we got. But
you'd have to cut the living hell out of government. You'd have to cut it in a way that I don't think anybody in Congress is going to allow.
Well, the good thing is when you put the government in the hands of the Trump folks, you're in good hands. Russ Vought, who is the director of the Office of Management and Budget, I mean, I have the greatest respect for Russ Vought. He knows where every line item is in the entire budget. He knows how to get it down, and we're working on that. And we want to get into the Trumpnomics world where real wages are going up through productivity. I mean, we're seeing, my remit, Rob, in the White House, trade manufacturing,
Peter,
right? On manufacturing, we're doing great, brother.
Yeah, no,
so,
I hear you.
Let's see what happens, but I hear you.
I know I opened up a can of worms with a really tough question, and I did it at a time where I have no more time left to talk about it. But I know you guys are fighting the good fight on it. I know it's the impossible question to answer in Washington. I just wanted to kind of see what you had to say, but I appreciate you coming on to talk about it, at least being open with us.
Always a pleasure, Rob, and
thank you so
much.
Put
in a plug for my book.
We'll talk
why Fauci needs to rot in prison someday.
There it is,
okay?
right
I want
there.
to come back and talk about that.
We will have you back to talk about that.
That man belongs in an orange jumpsuit, and I'm the guy to put him there.
I love it. I love that. Peter Navarro, thanks so much. Good to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Coming up, finally, some really strong news on Iran. Scott Bessent going for the throat with a sanction plan that's rapidly working as military-escorted oil tankers are now leaving the Persian Gulf at a very impressive clip. That's coming up next. And then later, the death of an 18-year-old tourist being used to ban horse-drawn carriages here in New York. Brent heads to Central Park to get reaction.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
Brought to you in partnership with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
All right, welcome back. Last week on this show, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent broke the news that Iran would soon be hit by an economic hammer like we have never used before in this country. An economic warfare operation on an unprecedented scale is what he said was coming. And we can tell you tonight that has begun. The president also putting on notice any country helping Iran skirt the blockade and financial sanctions as they squeeze Iran economically again in a way that no country has ever felt. stating the president, oil smuggling, swap lines, cash transfers, exchange houses, skip registries, front companies, it all needs to stop now. You know who you are. This will be an economic D-Day. So they're going after Iran, and they're going after anybody that's going to try and help Iran get around the process of going after Iran. The economic pressure already seems to be working. According to both Axios and CNN, Iran has lost significant control over the Strait of Hormuz, and the naval blockade on their oil is also taking a dramatic toll. Not only is Iran's oil exports falling to effectively zero, confirmed by their own central bank governor, the U.S. military has established a shipping corridor to transport millions of barrels of oil each day out into the rest of the market. According to reports, 15 to 20 tankers enter and exit the Strait of Hormuz each night through the very southern channel, right along the coast of Oman. That's the furthest point away from Iran. About 10 million barrels of oil a day on average moving out. But on some nights, they're reporting that the amount of oil moving out of the Persian Gulf was between 15 and 20 million barrels. That brings us to pre-war levels. And remember, they're using other methods of getting that oil out as well. They're building pipelines through the Arab states, other such activities as well. So this is a really significant update here on this war, and it's a lot of positive news. Senator Jim Banks joins us now. He sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee. And Senator, good to see you again. Details of the operation, just because I think it's so interesting. The cargo ships move in and out, one giant line at slotted times. They follow each other out. They're guided by U.S. Navy. They got fighter jets overhead protecting the ships against Iranian cruise missiles and drones. The ships also turn off their transponders, which we've seen a lot of that activity, making them ghosts. This seems to be working quite well.
Yeah, it sure has. Economic D-Day has begun and has been very effective, combined with the full force of the United States military. Remember that President Trump and our military has already wiped out 85% of Iran's ballistic missiles. We've destroyed their defense industrial base. We've set their nuclear ambitions back by a generation. But President Trump has put Iran on notice. You will never have a nuclear weapon, and we will do everything that it takes to stop you from having one, because we know that if Iran has a nuclear weapon, they're going to point it at America. And I don't want my kids to live in an America when Iran has a nuclear weapon, because we know what that means. So President Trump has been tough on them militarily, the blockade, but Iran has never seen anything yet like what they've seen in the last 24 hours with these economic sanctions. And also remember, too, that 90% of the oil that flows out of Iran through the straits goes to China, our biggest adversary. And President Trump recognizes the big picture here that China can't benefit from Iran's actions and their misdeeds and what they do to funnel money to terrorist proxy groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. So this is so significant. History is going to look back and recognize President Trump for doing more than anybody before to bring peace to the Middle East and the rest of the world by what he's doing right now.
And I like this plan. I mean, I was not feeling so hot about this for the last couple of months, but I think they've made this is a really big move, and I think the Treasury Secretary has done a fantastic job with manipulating this country in a way that they maybe weren't expecting, because as evil as they are, these are very intelligent people that are running this regime in Iran. They know what they're doing. They're very hard to beat, which is why a lot of people haven't wanted to pick this fight. But I think we're getting the upper hand. I want to switch gears for a second. You're the chair of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. I want to talk about Alaska for a minute. Democrats pulling a pretty clear scam here that appears to be illegal. NBC reporting the DOJ has issued grand jury subpoenas probing whether Dan J. Sullivan in the state of Alaska, who's a former teacher, entered the primary race as a Republican to confuse primary voters and steal votes away from the incumbent Republican senator, who, as we know, his name is Dan S. Sullivan. New York Times claims longtime Democrat consultant Amber Lee helped Dan J. Sullivan file to run for U.S. Senate Alaska, trying to scam the primary and perhaps win the primary so he could then hand the election to the Democrat in the general. That's got to be illegal, right?
It's got to be. I mean, as you said, it's a total scam, and Democrats are so far getting away with it. So you had the election a couple of nights ago, and the top 4 candidates go to this other scam called ranked choice voting, and you have 2 candidates named Dan Sullivan. The real Dan Sullivan, who I serve with in the Senate, is a Marine veteran. He's a true America First leader on the Armed Services Committee. The Veterans Committee does so much for Alaska. The fake Dan Sullivan, who's running with an R next to his name, admitted that he's never voted for Donald Trump. He voted for Harris and Biden and Hillary in the last 3 presidential elections, but still has an R next to his name. From what I understand, he doesn't even go by the name Dan Sullivan, but the Democrats put him up to it. They're funding his campaign. They helped him get on the ballot.
And the DOJ,
the Democrat campaign consultants are the ones who created his campaign logo and his website. It's all a scam. It should be illegal. I hope Alaska voters are paying attention, because if they do, they're going to reelect
DOJ looking into it
by a landslide.
Yeah, DOJ looking into it. I have literally 15 seconds left. Want to just show a little video. Central Indiana, my hometown, Carmel, Indiana, the White River, the flooding has been tremendous. You know the story, 11 inches of rain. I mean, some of the video of the bridges and the roads washed away. Hazeldale Parkway right there between 106 and 96. I can't believe that. I use that street all the time. You got some money from Trump to help the people of Indiana. Real quick, just tell us.
Yeah, Indiana hit hard, but we're coming back, and thanks to President Trump signing the natural disaster recognition. He called me last Saturday when he was signing it. We're rebuilding. We come together in times like these, but please pray for Indiana. We have a lot of damage, a lot of families impacted. We have a long road ahead of us.
Senator, thanks so much. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right, coming up here next, the Lindsay Clancy case and the terrifying ideology that has captured a lot of women in this country, as a mom who killed her 3 children, doesn't even deny it, has become a hero of sorts. That's up next.
They said it could never happen here, but millions are backing the dangerous new socialism. Leaders pushing a radical agenda of big spending and more control over your life. Watch Socialism in America, only on Newsmax.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
It's me, Ricky. You know me. You grew up with me. I'm 56 and a half years of age. I am using this right here, Fatty 15, to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient in Fatty 15 has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. And it is a game changer for your overall vitality. I urge you to try Fatty 15. Give your cells what they need and give yourself a chance with more time.
LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and quickly alerts you to identity threats you could miss, like changes to your investment accounts, home title, and loans opened in your name, right on your phone. LifeLock. Join today.
The Steel Across America tour is incredible.
We have a piece of steel that is going to go around 40 different locations in America. It is an I-beam from the South Tower. It has steel, it has concrete in it, and it has my brother's soul in it.
It's a massive undertaking, but a huge part of our Never Forget motto. It's going to be powerful. Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
Our nurse-led care anticipates needs before they're voiced. From skilled nursing to companion care that renews the soul.
Ever worry that you're drinking too much? Take back control with Or Health. Or Health provides access to medication proven to help. A daily pill to drink less, or to quit drinking altogether. Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
My name is Karen, and I'm the head pharmacist at Corvallis Drug. This pharmacy has actually been here for over 100 years. I love the fact that I know all of my customers by name. We'll get customers come in and they're looking for a brain supplement, and Prevagen is the one I recommend. My husband, I put him on it about 6 months ago, and he's noticed a difference. I've noticed a difference in him. It's just a product that I believe in.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
The first day back from maternity leave is so weird. We get it. Find a caregiver who does too. When it's not you, it's care.com.
When curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. See their stories at Ancestry.
All right, welcome back. We are watching a terrifying cultural moment among women right now, and it comes in response to a mother who murdered her own 3 children. Lindsay Clancy, on trial right now, has admitted to killing her children, Cora, Dawson, Callan, back in January of 2023. Cops say Lindsay sent her husband, Patrick, to pick up medication and takeout while he was gone. She strangled her 3 kids with exercise bands in the basement of their home. She then cut her wrists, cut her neck, jumped from a second-story window of the house, attempted suicide, and survived. She's now, as you see, in a wheelchair and paralyzed. Despite confessing, Clancy has pleaded not guilty. Her attorneys say she was suffering from a postpartum psychosis, bipolar disorder. They're going for the insanity, exacerbated by a dangerous cocktail of 13 powerful psychiatric medications. She says voices told her to do it, and she was failed by the system, the medical system, despite crying out for help. Prosecutors say, though, it was deliberate and premeditated. She planned getting her husband out of the house so she could do it. They say she was of sound mind when it happened. Outside the courtroom, though, is maybe the most disturbing part of this story. Hundreds of women in pink who are cheering for this woman.
I feel like the system failed her. She was begging for help, but no one was there. I don't know if us being here will make her feel any better, but I mean, she's living in hell right now.
Just wanted to support Lindsay and just say it could be, you know, one of my sister-in-laws, it could be one of my best friends, and it could be me. So just here to support.
The woman you see now is completely different from the woman who did that to her kids. She can be a wonderful, loving mother.
Imagine taking an exercise band to your own baby, to the neck, and then doing it 2 more times. Evita Duffy is a Federalist contributor. Bethany Mandel, co-author of Stolen Youth. Both are moms. I've never seen anything like this. Evita, I want to start with you. You're a new mom. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I'm horrified. I mean, it makes me want to hug my little baby even tighter, just thinking about what this depraved woman has done to her babies. But it really makes me think the most about our education system. I mean, this is being pushed by radical feminism, this movement behind this murderer. And the feminism is coming from our university system. You know, we have women are 11 percentage points more likely to graduate from a 4-year college than men are. And in these colleges, they teach women that there are systems of oppression, that everything in life is a system of oppression, and that motherhood and womanhood itself is a system of oppression. And therefore, you can justify horrific acts of violence in the name of subverting these systems of oppression. In this case, it would be motherhood. But it could also mean, you know, underprivileged or systemic racism. When you look at soft on crime policies of the Democrats, that is why they never allow people to take responsibility for their terrible actions, including this woman who murdered her own children. It's, you know, Bethany, that I think that, by the way, Evita, is so well said. But, you know, speak to that a little more, because the victimhood ideology on the left in this country is pushed onto every person that's considered to be, you know, oppressed. We see it time and time again. Has it gotten to the point where you can now kill your own kids and find sympathy because you've been oppressed?
What's wild to me is that Evita's correct. Like, this is being pushed by feminists. All those women standing out there are feminists, but they're arguing 2 separate things that are in complete contradiction. This woman had absolutely no agency, and also feminists believe you can do anything. That's what they grew up being told, and that's what they tell their daughters. You can be anything. You can be a combat soldier. You can be anything. But if you commit the most heinous act imaginable, you cannot be held responsible. These were forces outside of your control. It was the medical system, which she was receiving a lot of support from. She was shopping around to doctors to supply her with antipsychotic medication. She was on 13 drugs, but she was shopping for those drugs, and she was a nurse herself. She knew the effects of all these medications, and she was trying to seek them out. And so it's wild to me that they're acting like she didn't have any responsibility here.
It's terrifying. I got to leave it there. Ladies, thanks so much. Evita, Bethany, thank you. Scary stuff. All right, switching gears. If you have visited New York, you've probably witnessed the romance of the horse and carriage rides in Central Park. It's been a staple in the city for over 150 years. Democrats right now are renewing the push to end this and to outlaw this, using the tragic death of an 18-year-old tourist as ammunition for it. It's an interesting story. We sent Brent to Central Park earlier to speak with horse carriage drivers who now find that their jobs are on the line.
For over 150 years, horse and carriage rides have been a Central Park staple. But a new revived push by New York Democrats could soon outlaw the historic tradition. The New York City Council renaming a years-old bill after 18-year-old Romansh Mahajan, a tourist from India who was fatally tossed from a horse carriage back in June after the horse spooked and ran off. The victim's family is now suing the city for over $100 million, and horse carriage drivers are accusing Democrats of politicizing the tragedy.
They are politicizing the loss of a life. They're taking a family's tragedy and using it for their advantage. They didn't change the wording, not a single word of the bill. They just put his name on it because they saw an opportunity.
Unfortunately, they're using the death of this young man, which I think is a shame.
They exploit the situation.
I don't think it's correct to use the emotion of that loss of a young man to try and destroy a historic industry.
The park was built by horses for horses.
This is the iconic tradition of the Central Park.
The carriages make Central Park the best park in the world.
It's a staple in Central Park. It's been in movies, TV shows, Sex in the City.
Don't forget Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
Seinfeld, yes.
If this industry closes, more than 300 people will lose their permanent job.
It will be destroying a lot of families.
My family is 65 years we're doing this business.
I've been in this business over 40 years, 31 years.
I don't want another job.
They're going to take away everything you've worked for.
I want to say just one thing to all the council members. I just invite them officially to come over to the park and take a carriage ride. Come over here from Mandami until the last council member, take a carriage ride, and touch with hands what's going on in Central Park.
Interesting stuff. It's a very polarizing conversation here in New York. If you're not careful, you can find yourself in a huge fight. Anything involving animals, of course. All right, the disgusting media fixation with Trump aide Natalie Harp. That's up next with Rick and Ed.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finity, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
American spirit. It drives the Good Ranchers mission. Forged under open skies. Woven into who we are. From thundering cattle to the laughter we share around the table. It's a legacy carried forward. One meal, one gathering, one generation at a time. This is Good Ranchers, an American meat company built on American spirit.
See you Sunday, Jim. Whoa! Delivery!
Thanks, Kurt.
You like that? See you Sunday, Jim.
Sunday.
See you Sunday.
See you Sunday.
See you Sunday.
I just got my pilot's license. See you Sunday.
The whole town can feel it. Sunday's coming.
The NFL on CBS, streaming all season on Paramount+.
See you Sunday.
That's my boy Cam Skagoo.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again.
I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
You know, when I came in here, I was at a 15, and that's no joke. My spinal cord was almost severed. I feel like I'm gaining my freedom. My pain level of the day is nothing.
No pain now? No. Okay, feels good? Yep.
And I can feel my legs waking up and getting feeling back in my leg and my foot I haven't had in a year and a half, 2 years. I feel like I'm getting my life back.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Who the heck is Natalie?
A devoted presidential aide known by some as the human printer, who often stays up late with the president, helping him post on social media.
His very close aide, Natalie Harp.
Natalie Harp isn't just maybe his human printer, as they also call her. Evidently, she's kind of a gateway to a lot of information.
Traveling with Natalie, a reference to President Trump's executive assistant.
All right, so all week we have watched the media obsess over one of the president's most important aides, a relatively unknown young lady named Natalie Harp. The 35-year-old is one of the hardest working people at the White House. She credits the president with saving her life, citing his Right to Try Act, which was very popular among Americans, saying that it helped her actually beat bone cancer when she was younger, a point that she made at the 2020 RNC convention. But Senator John Ossoff in Georgia, looking for something to snag some attention for himself as he runs for re-election, decided to toss this mostly unknown aide into the spotlight by being a total jerk, claiming that Trump doesn't want to do the job of president and just wants to fly around with Natalie, insinuating an affair because he doesn't have much else to run on. Even an MS Now host could call balls and strikes on this one, very courteously calling the beta senator out for his pathetic claim. Take a listen.
Why'd you decide to invoke Natalie Harp specifically in that speech?
Here's the point. We're in wartime, and he retreats into this bubble of West Wing aides who are his security blanket to make him feel good about himself.
Newsmax hosts Rick Leventhal and Ed Henry join us now to talk about this. Rick, this really irked me. The guy is such a jackass. Headline after headline about Natalie Harp out there now. The news attempting to paint her as a modern-day Monica Lewinsky. This was really inappropriate to do this. I mean, this girl, nobody knows who this girl is, and now this is what they think.
Yeah, well, apparently she's loyal. She's hardworking. She's very good at her job. So according to the mainstream media, that makes her bad because she works for Donald Trump, right? I mean, why in the world would you attack someone who is a trusted, loyal aide to the president unless you just don't like the president? And by the way, why wouldn't he bring her with him on a jet out of Turkey if she's his personal and executive assistant? I mean, if I want somebody to come with me when I'm, getting on a jet flying out of a country, that's going to be one of the people I want. Is my assistant. So this whole thing is just more drummed up nonsense from people who don't like the president and are trying to make him look bad every chance they get.
Yeah. Ed, your thoughts?
Well, beyond the salacious BS that Ossoff was pushing, and you've both called out, I covered the White House for 10 years, as you know, and every president, Democrat, Republican, had an aide like this. And I remember CNN doing a segment some years ago about Reggie Love, who was a former Duke basketball player, as I recall, who was around Barack Obama all the time, getting him his backpack with medication or, a bottle of water. This is what happens. You're the president. You can't go to 7-Eleven and get a bottle. So Natalie Harp, I've seen her around President Trump, and it's completely professional from what I've seen. She walks around with a laptop basically attached to her fingers to sort of type out memos he wants to do or social media posts or whatever, and in the time I've seen him, it's all professional. And you could find pictures of Reggie Love or Andrew Friendly, I think, was the guy around Bill Clinton, and they were just as close, but this is sexist, and they're attacking a woman who, by the way, almost died. She had like a terminal illness, and President Trump saved her life with this right to try law that he put into place in his first term. So it's just more Trump derangement syndrome.
Exactly. The president is going to have the best aide. I mean, nobody's going to have a better assistant than the president of the United States. So, of course, she's going to be frantically running around, following him, whatever he needs. This is what aides do. Yeah. Only in this case is it something, the response is ridiculous as this. It's so inappropriate, too. I want to bring up, before I let you guys go, Rosie O'Donnell came back from Ireland to fill in for Jimmy Kimmel on this show that ABC tries to tell us is a late-night show and not just whatever they've turned it into. She actually jumped in on the Natalie Harp dialogue as well. Take a listen.
You got to realize it's time to hang up your wig and let Natalie tuck you in.
Again, you know, Rick, what is that show anymore? It's literally just a Trump-obsessed show, and it's on ABC every night.
I mean, it has to be a prerequisite if you want to fill in for Jimmy Kimmel or grace his stage, that you have to bash Donald Trump. And, of course, he has a team of writers who are having her or whoever say whatever it is they want that person to say. And the audience goes, oh, yay. I mean, that was such a low blow, and it's just not even funny. Yeah. But nice facelift for Rosie, by the way. She looks great.
Facelift and a lot of makeup. It's a therapy session for the anti-Trumpers, right? Right, Ed?
Yeah, and also, it's like their jokes are not even funny. I mean, you could laugh at President Trump, who was actually funny, some joke about a Diet Coke, but when she said something about a wig, everyone knows he has his own real hair, and they make fun of you know, Orange Man Bad and all that stuff. So the jokes aren't even funny. The jokes are ridiculous. Their whole lives are ridiculous. They're obsessed with this man. It's actually funnier to watch them try to be funny. They're just not funny.
It's entertaining to see how his presidency has completely commandeered their entire lives is the funniest part. I don't think they think about anything except Donald Trump. That, at the end of the day, is the biggest joke. Rick and Ed, good to see you guys. Thanks so much. All right, across the pond, the UK government creating a nice pamphlet to help refugees understand that you shouldn't be groping and raping women. The joys of mass third world migration, next in News from the Left.
This is the Mahindra Roxor, the side-by-side that doesn't play by the rules. The other guys think plastic can hack it. The Roxor rides with steel. They pull back on power. The Roxor packs a turbo diesel punch. And when they start breaking down, the Roxor's barely broken in. The Mahindra Roxor, built like nothing else. Get up to 3,000 cashback or 0 for 36 with our limited time red, white, and blue summer savings.
I have a wife and 4 kids. If anything ever happens to me, I want them taken care of. That's why I have life insurance. Ethos. 10 minutes, 100% online. Done.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Live better for longer with Whoop. Start with small habits and build momentum so that one win at a time, you make progress. Get real-time insights and personalized guidance built around your body, your routine, and your goals. All with a distraction-free design and more power than ever. Whoop helps you add years to your life and more life to your years.
Hydration or creatine? Most people think they have to choose, but you don't. Get electrolytes to help replenish what you lose through sweat, plus 5 grams of creatine to help support strength, power, and recovery. 2 supplements, 1 stick, 1 less thing to think about.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that, no needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
Do you spend the night trying to get comfortable? Your knees rub bone on bone. Your back and hips ache. You wake up in pain. Now from the company that's reshaped how America sleeps, there's the Contour Legacy Pillow. The patented ergonomically designed tapered leg pillow that naturally fits the contours of your legs, knees, and thighs to help align your spine and alleviate pain.
Sleeping on your side, your leg comes over and puts you out of alignment, causing low back pain, hip pain, even knee pain. By using the Contour Legacy Pillow, it restores the natural alignment of the spine, helping to alleviate pain and pressure, leading to a much more restful sleep.
Old-fashioned leg pillows are bulky, fall out, and get caught on sheets. But the anatomical design of the Legacy Pillow perfectly fits the shape of your body. It's made from a soft memory foam, so it never loses its shape. You can even use two together for full leg alignment. Legacy Pillow is exclusively ventilated, so it always stays cool and dry.
The Contour Legacy Pillow, available at these fine retailers.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. The libs want to get rid of standardized testing in California, which of course would further decimate education in a state where none of the kids can read or write. As usual, Gavin Newsom actually knows better, but is fully beholden to the communist machine that runs his state, so he does what he does best and just filibusters.
Professors in the UC system are raising alarms about what they see as, in some cases, a severe lack of preparedness among college students. So I wanted to get your.
Well, we all have our own perspective, on this, and they can speak for their thought. Here's what I think, and I've said it, of course, the last 6 months. I think it's an important discussion and debate. I'm open argument, interested evidence. Show me the data. I have feelings about this. There's anecdotes about this, but I want to see the data.
Want to be led by a guy that doesn't have a spine? Vote Newsom. Next up, radical DSA candidate Angie Nixon on Don Lemon's podcast, just like all the rest, now pretending to be moderate, playing the race card to get around questions about her actual absurd agenda.
Are you going to want to abolish the Supreme Court, or to abolish the presidency, or, get rid of policing, or get rid of prisons?
Don, I am a Black woman with natural hair. I scare people just being my authentic self. I never miss my words about what I stand for. And I just recently joined DSA.
Yeah, you stand for anything that's going to get you elected, honey, and we know you're all crazy. Next up, CNN's Jake Tapper very upset over the War Secretary saying a newly declared bad word.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he used a slur against trans people. Take a listen.
At the Department of War, we do training, not trannies. The only focus of our department, colorblind, gender neutral, merit-based.
I think voters are sick and tired of this rhetoric.
Just calling transgender people trannies, that's obviously a slur. There is just something about treating people with dignity.
Dignity, huh? Well, this was a mainstream joke, a mainstream phrase. This was mainstream comedy up until maybe 15 years ago. Entourage, 2.5 Men, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, How I Met Your Mother. Those words, those jokes were all over every mainstream show. Tons of movies I could name off as well. Only now it's been declared offensive, and nobody's allowed to say it for some reason. It's ridiculous. And finally, across the pond in the UK, a guide published by Britain's Home Office reminding refugees from the Middle East to not rape, sexually harass, or make kissing noises toward women, saying if you have sex with someone without their consent, this is called rape. Rape is a serious crime in the UK. Yes, those are the words. Also stating women can work and earn their own money, study and go to school or university, travel freely, choose who they marry. They have to tell people about this. Do you think maybe that these cultures don't really blend and maybe they should send them back home? Coming up, James Tallarico casually endorses the murder of a white high school kid.
There were no black members of the jury. And to me, that's the only evidence you need.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Pain and Inflammation Relief Roll-On.
Your muscle and joint inflammation is real. Here's what real customers are saying about MagnaLife Pain and Inflammation Relief Roll-On. It worked great.
Available at your local retailer.
There's a reason the wealthy don't keep all their money in one place. We work hard our entire lives to build wealth for retirement. If your retirement dropped 30% tomorrow, would you be ready? Or would you just have to wait and hope it comes back? The last thing any of us wants is to watch our retirement accounts shrink every time Wall Street panics, the dollar drops, or global uncertainty rises. That's why so many successful Americans turn to gold to help protect their retirement. And Preserve Gold is the only precious metals company I trust and recommend. Let me be frank. Gold is not for everybody, and I do not give financial advice, but I do urge you to get my free wealth protection guide from Preserve Gold and learn about a special offer to receive up to $20,000 in free gold and silver. Education is power.
Text Newsmax to 50505.
For all the extra hours and endless meetings, you deserve this. It's the Omaha Steaks Labor Day event, and right now we're offering 50% off site-wide. Order now and you'll get 8 of our famous burgers free when you visit omahasteaks.com/TV.
If you're about to replace your roof, stop. There's a solution about 80% less expensive. 9 out of 10 roofs can be saved by Roofmax. Guaranteed to extend the life of your current roof by 5 to 15 years at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax's deep penetrating power restores flexibility and water protection. Nobody wants to replace their roof. Restore it instead with Roofmax for 80% less.
I'm stressed.
Great white. Swallow you whole.
No. I mean, I'm 45. I need to get screened for colon cancer. All that prep, whole day off the water.
Try Cologuard Plus.
There you go.
It detects 95% of colon cancers, similar to colonoscopy.
And it ships to your home or your ship.
False positive and negative results maker. The Cologuard Plus test is not for those at high risk.
Hey, is there a poop deck joke here?
There is now.
Cologuard.
God, I'd kill for an old-fashioned.
How do you do that?
Bonds. Corporate bonds.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
Have you ever dreamed of getting your business on TV? At GrowAds.com, we produce a high-end TV spot starting at only $950. Then we air your TV spot on major cable networks in your local area, only at GrowAds.com.
And finally tonight, Texas Senate candidate James Tallarico is defending Carmelo Anthony after police say and a jury decided that Anthony murdered white 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet a year ago. Take a listen to this.
Texas, we see what happened with Carmelo Anthony, and you said it was a tragedy.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
We've got a system that doesn't serve all Americans equally, and we know that black Texans have been have not gotten the justice they deserve. You know, I'm not an expert on this particular case, but I know that there were no black members of the jury, and to me, that's the only evidence you need to really prove that this system is not working for black Texans.
Don't let this idiot anywhere near power. What a disgusting thing to say. Oh, there's no black people on the jury. So it's a pretty obvious story. And of course, he has to preface it with, I'm not an expert on the story, because he knows he's about to load us up with a huge line of BS. And he doesn't want to be accountable for that. So he's going to act like he doesn't know the story. One of the biggest stories in his state, by the way, which if that were true, that should be discrediting completely for him to be a senator. Bob Brooks joining us now with Finnerty Tonight. Tallarico, where do they find this?
Didn't they do that? That happened at a track meet in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah, like a lot of people.
Like everybody saw it. That's the evidence.
Tallarico.
That guy, he's weird. There's something weird. What's Trump call him? Talafrico or Andy Newman?
Andy Newman. Something
Where
like
do they
that.
find these guys,
That old
Rob?
face from like 50 years ago? Yeah.
Jeez,
where do they find it? Take it away,
man.
Bob.
Appreciate it. Let's
All
do
right.
it.